Hi, my name is Karin and I work in the admissions department at Extraordinary Conceptions. But before I worked here, I was actually a surrogate. In October of 2019, I delivered a set of twins for a couple in Germany. It was a pretty cool experience and I'm actually getting ready to start my second journey right now. I decided to become a surrogate after I had my own kids. Being a mom is one of the greatest things that I've ever done in my life, and I know a lot of people who struggle from infertility, and I wanted to be able to give back and help out others. So I decided to become a surrogate. Most of my friends and family reacted very positively. There was only a couple of people who were a little bit skeptical about what I was doing and why I was doing it. But honestly, all the people close to me in my life, my closest friends, my closest family members, my fiance, they were all on board. But the most excited were my kids. They loved the fact that I was helping someone else build a family. I decided to tell my kids when I first started going through the process. I wanted to feel it out and make sure that they were comfortable with it. Pregnancy, it not only takes a toll on your body, but also on your energy levels. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't robbing my kids of their mom during this whole process. So I actually sat them down and I explained what surrogacy was. I explained that it would not be their brother or sister, that there's no genetic connection, but that I would be carrying a baby for someone else. My youngest was actually the most excited and he constantly asked me, "Mom, are you still gonna have a baby for someone else?" And I had to reassure him that yes, it just takes a little bit of time. We have to be patient. Miracles take time. So they were definitely excited and they understood the whole process the whole way. They were involved and they got to be there after the babies were born and got to meet them and hold them, and it was really cool for them. So when I started showing with twins, it was pretty fast. A lot of people would see my fiance and I and be like, "Oh my gosh, congratulations!" And my fiance would instantly go, "Whoa, they're not mine." And then I would sit there and get these looks from these people who are just completely shocked. And I'd have to explain like, "Oh, no, they're not mine either." Which opened up an amazing conversation about surrogacy, and it really touched a lot of people. They were actually very excited about it. It offered an opportunity to talk about the normalization of surrogacy, because surrogacy still is a little bit of a taboo subject among some people. They don't understand it. And this gave us an opportunity to explain to the people who are close to us and even complete strangers about surrogacy and how important it is to be able to support people who struggle with infertility. I had two people who reacted negatively. The first person who reacted negatively was one of my coworkers, and after I announced the pregnancy, she said, "Wow, that must be a nice paycheck." And and she didn't even make eye contact with me. She was just said it under her breath. And I said, "Actually, it's more of an emotional payday." And then walked away from her. And then I had someone grill me about it. They're like, "Why are you doing this?" And when I explained that it was because I love being a mom and I wanted to help someone out, she slowly came around. She was like, "I thought you were just doing it for the money." Ooh, the medications. I swear I am still sore. So I started my medications on February 1st of 2019. And between then and when I was 10 weeks along with the twins, I gave myself over 145 different types of medications. This was oral medications, injectables, and other medications that are a part of the process. It was a little uncomfortable. However, I did discover a lot of YouTube videos that are out there that other surrogates have uploaded that offer tips and tricks on how to alleviate some of the pain that's involved with the process. So through applying heat and using a massager, I was able to relax the muscles in the upper buttocks area enough to make it so it didn't hurt as bad. But honestly, after the first one, they get so much easier. And I since then have helped other surrogates with their first injections, mostly friends of mine when they kind of feel like they can't stick themselves, because that is the scariest part, is getting over that first shot. I mean, honestly, all of the pain is worth it in the end. You forget about all of the struggle and all of the pain once you get to the end of the journey, just because the fulfillment and the emotional like feelings that you feel. It's amazing. So I was very lucky. My intended parents were very involved. We talked a lot. We got to chat through an application constantly. I mean, anytime I needed something or anytime they needed something, they could just reach out. And I was able to share pictures and video of ultrasounds and share the entire journey with them. It was really quite incredible, and we grew quite close, to the point where they actually did consider myself and my fiance family. And we took maternity photos together, and it was really cool. It was such a cool experience. But I absolutely adore them. And when I first met them, it was about 2 weeks before I was due. Before that, it was only through video chat or through just texting that I got to talk to them. But the second I saw them walking across the parking lot, I knew it was them. And there was lots of hugs and there was lots of tears, and it just instantly felt right. I just felt like I had known them my entire life, and I feel so lucky and so blessed. And so we got even closer the couple weeks before the babies were born, and then I went into labor, and they couldn't be in the room, which was unfortunate, but that's because I was delivering twins, and there's a whole bunch of different special circumstances with that. But they were right outside the room, and as soon as the babies were cleaned up and bundled up, they walked in, and I was able to hand them their babies for the first time. And seeing their faces when they walked in the room, it made every shot, every injection, every pill, every pain, every contraction worth it. The joy was just radiating off of them. And they held my hands for a solid 5 minutes and just kept saying thank you. They were so amazed that I was able to give them that gift. I had hoped that my surrogacy journey would be emotionally fulfilling. I had hoped that I would feel like I had earned this giant gold star because of something amazing I had done. And it sounds a little selfish when I say it like that, but I was hoping for that. But honestly, it was so much more. I feel so much love from the baby's family, and I feel so much love from my family and friends because of this process that it was really humbling. I mean, I just am so amazed at the technology and the medical advances that are out there that make any of this possible, and it's become addicting. I love surrogacy because of this. I love everything that has to do with the fertility field, and that's part of the reason I started working here. The best part of my surrogacy journey, there's so many to choose from. It's really hard to pinpoint just one because there's so many different memories along the way. You know, the embryo transfer, I had to lay in bed for 3 days, and my fiance went with me, and we literally got to eat snacks and watch Netflix for 3 days, and it was probably one of the highlights of our relationship. There's even another moment. When we were taking the maternity photos, one of the twins started kicking like furiously. He was just like doing a little dance, and one of the dads got to put his hand on my belly and feel the baby moving, and he instantly teared up and was just over the moon. You could just see how much love he felt in that moment for this little baby that would be born just 2 days later. It was incredible. And then again, when the intended parents met their babies for the first time, when they walked in and saw those 2 little boys, it was absolutely perfect. It was like the icing on such an incredible cake. Everybody's surrogacy journey is different. You know, you have to make sure that you are able to communicate in a timely manner. That way that there's no holdup. If you don't answer a text message, or if you don't answer an email, or if you don't check your email often, you might miss something that's super important as part of your journey, and that could cause a holdup. So it's super important to be communicative. It's also super important to keep an open mind. You know, there's a whole variety of people who are seeking surrogates. And you know, they all come from different backgrounds, and they all have different personalities, and everybody's journey is different. So it's important to keep an open mind. If you don't have an open mind with this whole process, you could get frustrated super easily. It's also important to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. both physically and mentally. You want to make sure that you're in a good mental state, that you're happy, that you're healthy, that you have all of the support that you need at home. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not happy, and if you're not healthy, then it could create a holdup for you during the process when you get to the medical screening or the psychological evaluation. The embryo transfer was an extremely uncomfortable day. It didn't hurt, but you have to go to the appointment with an extremely full bladder. And my appointment was for early in the morning. It was like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, but there was one girl ahead of me. And so I, that morning, had a light breakfast. It was like avocado toast and a ton of water because they said full bladder, so I'm an overachiever and went like extra full. And so I arrived at my appointment, and the girl ahead of me didn't have a full enough bladder, so I had to wait. And so it kept getting pushed back, and then finally around 12:30 they called me back into the room, and I was just miserable. So I laid down on the table, and the nurse took a wand and pressed on my belly, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna pee. And luckily I didn't, but she said my bladder was too full, so anyway, got to take care of that. But the actual embryo transfer itself was pretty incredible. While you're laying there, the nurse has an ultrasound wand on your belly so that they can see your uterus, and they can, make sure that those embryos are getting placed correctly. And the doctor takes a very thin catheter, like you don't even feel it, and they just guide the catheter in place, and then you literally get to see the little tiny embryos settling into place as they do the transfer. And it was really such a neat experience. The clinic that I went through with my first journey had a printout of what the embryos look like under a microscope at that developmental stage. So we actually got to take that home and then give it to the intended parents later on, and it was really neat. So miscarriage is definitely a tough topic. No one wants to experience that, whether you're a surrogate or whether it's your own baby. I personally have never experienced that, and I can only make assumptions that it would be emotionally hard on not only the intended parents but also on the surrogate. It's something that isn't the end of the world though. Most likely the intended parents will have additional embryos frozen, which means that you have the opportunity to try again once the doctor feels like you're medically cleared to proceed. It's something that you'd have to work out with the IVF clinic as well as with the intended parents. I went into this process knowing that the babies were not mine, that they were fully 100% the intended parents. And so I think that helped me prepare mentally for later on during the pregnancy, knowing that I wasn't going to be taking them home and knowing that they weren't mine. I wasn't doing this for myself, I was doing this for someone else, so I think that helped as well. The whole time, I felt like it was really cool. I could feel the babies move, and I would get excited knowing that they're growing and knowing that they're healthy and knowing that they're active, but I never felt that maternal connection of, oh my gosh, that's my baby moving. It didn't feel like that to me at all. I feel like I was really lucky. And then when the babies were born, it was the same thing. I just felt like a really cool auntie or like an extreme babysitter. I didn't really feel like they were mine at all, and it was actually very easy to hand them over to their parents, especially when I saw how much joy the parents were feeling when they saw their babies. There is a difference between traditional surrogacy and gestational surrogacy. Traditional surrogacy is where the surrogate has a genetic connection to the baby, and it's more like an adoption. Whereas gestational surrogacy, there is usually an egg donor, or they use the eggs of the intended mother, and then there's either a sperm donor or they use the sperm of the intended father, and then they have a gestational carrier who is just carrying that embryo throughout the process. The eggs are created in a lab and then developed until a certain stage, and then the embryos are transferred. Being a surrogate really opened my eyes to a whole nother world, and honestly, I fell head over heels in love with surrogacy. I first reached out just wondering how I could even get into the field because I wasn't even sure where you start. How do you start? How do you work for a surrogacy agency? And I met with one of the directors at EC, and she told me a little bit about it, and I was like, you know, this is something I really want to do with my life. And sure enough, I was offered a position in admissions, and it's incredible. I feel like I finally found what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I get to not only talk to other surrogates and help guide them along the way, but I also get to share my own personal experiences while doing that. I really think that working here as a prior surrogate who worked with extraordinary conceptions really does help. I get to share my personal experiences. I get to, you know, understand exactly what the applicants are going through when they are going through the admissions process. I can explain the frustrations of having to wait. I can explain the frustrations of having a canceled match. You know, I can share my experiences of carrying twins and how the delivery went and how it was handing those babies over to the intended parents. There's a lot of applicants who have questions about being attached and about how you get past that, and I'm able to share my own personal views and my own personal experiences with them, and it definitely is a fulfilling experience. If you want to be a surrogate, do it. Oh my gosh, it is seriously one of the best things you'll ever do in your life. Listen to your heart. You know, if it's something that you really want to do, you know, just work for it. Miracles take time. You have to be patient, but just do it. Fill out the application. We're here to support you, and we're here to guide you along the way. So with any delivery, pregnancy, birth experience, there's always emotions involved. You have grown these babies and you have delivered them, and there's a flood of emotions and just so many feelings, all the feelings. So I was definitely expecting that and prepared for that when I had the twins. I was concerned that I was going to have baby blues or postpartum depression because I didn't have a baby to take care of. However, I really only had one day where I was sad, and it was 3 days or so after I had given birth. I was in the shower and I realized that my fiance was going to work, my children were going to school, and that for the first time since giving birth, I was going to be completely alone. And I had a moment where I cried in the shower because I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to take care of myself right now. I just gave birth. But honestly, it was short-lived, and all the rest of the emotions were just happy. It was very little sadness involved with the process, just because I had known that I had fulfilled someone's dream, and that was so fulfilling for me. So I didn't feel any of the sadness or the postpartum depression that I was worried about. The feelings are almost euphoric, indescribable joy and happiness that you feel after you have the babies, and you do ride that wave for a while, just knowing that you made this happen for them, that you made a dream come true. And that's, I think, the most overpowering emotion out of everything, is just that euphoric happiness that you've changed someone's life. Thank you so much for following along and listening. And if you are interested in following along with my second surrogacy journey, you can follow me on Instagram, which is Surro_adventures, or you can follow the Maine Extraordinary Conceptions page because I tag them often. We look forward to hearing from you. If you're interested in being a surrogate or just have questions, feel free to send me a DM. I'm always available.